Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
It is time for Outdoor Tidbits with Mr. Jake Bolks, our conservation warden buddy for the great state of Wisconsin. And I know this has been a busy week for all the deer hunters out there. If you're trying to get some antlerless tags and such, those sales, I think all the zones open up today and such, but we'll ask the expert. Morning, Jake. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Not bad. I got my antlerless tag, so I'm feeling pretty good and such. But I know today's the day where they all open up, I believe, right?
Yeah. So if you didn't have time to get in, now's the time to get in and start getting your antlerless tags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. If they're still available, depending on your zone.
Yeah, if they're still available. I talked to a few people that had alarms set and everything to get them, and they just forgot to buy them still. So maybe that opened up opportunities for other people.
Yeah. Well, I was in line. I think I started at 9:45, and I was at number 5,000, it looked like. But it only took 10 minutes to get in, so it went quick.
Yeah, it rips through it pretty good, but it's pretty crazy when you get in there and you're like, number 5,000, 7,000, and you're like, how am I ever going to get one? But you end up getting what you need if you're doing it right away.
Oh, yeah, easily. Hey, Jake, we had actually a few people ask this question, and I know it's still new and such, and you guys are probably still kind of learning about it, but, you know, the elk news with the Natural Resources Board approving 2024 to 2034 elk management plan. And I was kind of reading the release here, too, and it says a couple of key updates: managing the statewide elk population using an adaptive management approach, renaming the management zones to include regional distinctions, creating one continuous elk hunting season, and expanding the boundaries of the elk management zones. So I think a lot of people were asking about that fourth bullet point, the expanding the boundaries of the elk management zones. Essentially, does that mean that more areas are going to be opened up to potentially hunt elk in the coming years?
Yeah. You know, I shall preface by saying I'm not the expert. You know, that's just a couple. Christine and Josh are the ones that manage the two different herds, or at least are a big part of it. There's a lot of stakeholders in it. But, you know, I know the ultimate goal is to just have the healthiest, you know, biggest herd landscape habitat. And, you know, part of any sort of any sort of plan is you got to look for the future. And if we didn't look at expanding or looking at, you know, when you have 70 elk versus 200 elk, they're obviously going to be in a wider area. They're going to be more spread out. So I know part of the plan is just taking a look at, you know, where are these elk probably going to continue to expand to, and how do we incorporate that into the public lands and private lands, and how that's going to affect everything. So, yes, it'll probably expand some of the hunting opportunities in the future, at least the zones and this and that. But especially down here in the Black River herd, we're still kind of learning exactly what it's all about, because none of us have experience with the clam lake herd. We don't have experience with the hunting season and stuff like that. So this is going to be a fun year, but a fun learning year as well on kind of how this is going to look for the next decade.
And it seems like the herd is doing well. I read a little note on the bottom, too. It said that the state's elk population is projected to reach over 500 animals after this year's calving season. So it seems like the herds are doing they're healthy right now.
The herds are really healthy. You know, I can't speak as well for the north herd, but down here, I know that the birthing rate and the survival rate was extremely high after a mild winter. And you know, I know one of the best things they talked about was how there's not a specific thing that is leading to their mortality, whether it's the calves or the adults, which is good. You know, there's predators, there's car kill, there's hunting, there's disease, which is good that it's all spread around and you have a death here or there versus like they're all getting wiped out by semis or they're all dying of a disease. So it's a good, healthy herd, which I think will only bode well for the future on, you know, hopefully having more tags or people seeing them more if they just want to go out there and, you know, look at take pictures of a Wisconsin elk, which is still pretty crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. So I know there's probably a lot of people excited about it, obviously, with the few texts we got, but it, you know, kind of maybe pay attention and kind of follow along for more updates later on, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. This is just the first step of what I imagine is hundreds, but they got to start somewhere with a plan, and then the biologists, and again, there's a lot of different stakeholders. It's not just the DNR, but there's a lot of different aspects that come into it, and I know that they're always happy to answer questions if if you're curious on the herd. Obviously, you can look on our website for information, but if you got specific questions or want to help or this or that, you can always reach out to the local DNR staff in those areas and see if there's any opportunities or educational opportunities and such.
Mm-hmm. Jake, also UTV seatbelts and early. Well, first of all, let's hit up with that with the UTV seatbelts.
Yeah, there's nothing crazy. There's no new rules on UTV seatbelts, but I thought it'd be a good thing to touch on really quick. UTVs, more the laws, the DNR laws, the road route rules are more and more becoming similar to your typical standard vehicle. So you got to have lights on in inclement weather, but also now you have to have lights on all the time. But you have to wear your seatbelts in the UTV, and it's been a law for a long time, and I'm starting to see more, and rightly so. I guess I'm doing the same. There's more and more citations being issued for the seatbelts, and it's not like a $10 you didn't wear your seatbelt rule like on the road. It's a couple $100 for not wearing your seatbelt. And the importance of that is it's directly related to safety. Unfortunately, I think we've had a fair amount of fatalities this year, and what ends up happening, if it's, unfortunately they're related to alcohol, most of them, but what ends up happening is people are being thrown out of the UTV, or they're getting pinned under it because half their body's outside of it because they're not wearing their seatbelts. I don't want to be the morbid warden that's saying, they're dangerous and this and that, because I love riding them. Mm-hmm. But when you see enough of it, and something as simple as a seatbelt could keep you inside the machine to save your life, I think it's important that it's talked about and that people definitely wear them when they're out on the road routes and trails, and to be honest, even when you're on your own property.
Good stuff there too. Have you seen it? Is it kind of the same rules for ATVs and all that? Because I've been seeing a lot more UTVs too. I was at a buddy's house a couple weeks ago, and it was actually a baby shower, and a bunch of people were just rolling in the driveway riding UTVs out in the country. So it seems like that's their mode of transportation.
Oh yeah, it's still the highest. It's the highest, fastest growing sport here, and at Farm Tech Days, I'd say it's the number one topic we've talked about with people is UTVs, UTV laws, road routes and maps and stuff like that. So they're very, very popular, which is awesome. Again, I got nothing against it. I like riding one. We got a really cool new, fully marked, enclosed, heat, air conditioned UTV for our team here to drive, which is pretty nice. But you really got to wear those seatbelts, not only to save yourself a couple $100, but potentially save your life.
Jake, you also mentioned too early teal shooting hours. Can you talk about that a little bit? Yeah.
So this was a good question from Farm Tech Days also. So that's what kind of spurred my thought on this. Was people were asking about the first hunting season coming up here is waterfowl, early teal, early goose, dove. And we were talking about shooting hours with some people because we don't have the Hunt Wild app anymore. So you have to kind of do the math on your hours in the back of the regulations. But if you get the hard copy regulations, which they aren't printed yet, they're all online. Everything is there online. They just haven't been delivered out yet. In the waterfowl section, there's its own standalone section on the early teal shooting hours because there's some special regulations for the early teal season. It's more restrictive because they want people to be able to identify that it's a teal and not a wood duck or a mallard. So when you're looking at if you're going early teal hunting this year, you really got to go to that waterfowl section and check out the specific hunting times, shooting hours, both in the morning and the evening for the teal, so you don't end up accidentally violating.
Gotcha. Good nugget right there.
And it was a pretty common thing we ran into last year was people, we'd be sitting out there and they'd be blasting away 20 minutes early shooting teal or mallards, unfortunately, or wood ducks. But they were shooting away 20 minutes early, and when we went and talked with them, and sometimes they didn't even look at the rigs, but when we explained where they were, they had no idea. So it's just a good reminder. If you're going to get out right away, make sure to dive into those regs, find those special rules and regulations, so you don't accidentally commit a violation.
Mm-hmm. Good nugget right there too. So, hey, are you going back to Farm Tech Days today at all, or are you?
I am.
Okay.
I'm going to pull the afternoon shift to close it down. Kind of luckily, I don't have to go walk through the rain to get to my booth or anything. But we'll see if it's raining this afternoon when I got to put it all away and drive all the machines into the trailer and such.
Gotcha. Well, at least you get to drive all.
But it's
those.
been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is fun to drive.
Hey, Jake.
But it's been good out there. It's been fun. So a lot of good questions have come in out there. A lot of people have stopped by and said hi, and hopefully it's been the same for Bob and such. It's a good time.
Absolutely. Don't let Bob drive one of those if you see him. So even if he offers to help you. So just don't do that.
Don't worry.
Jake, we appreciate it, buddy, as always. Stay safe out there. Enjoy the last day at Farm Tech Days, and we'll catch up with you again next week. Okay, bud?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks, man.
You got it. There you go. Jake Bolks, Conservation Warden for the state of Wisconsin, for our Outdoor Tidbits this morning.